question the stories we've been told. No focus groups or protesting, a leadership that's bold. The yearning of our people just to hear the truth. The wisdom of our system and the promise of our youth. For every river that is flowing to greater glory, time has come now to compose a new American story.
Senator Bradley's accomplishments are numerous. Olympic gold medalist, star for the Princeton Tigers and New York Knicks basketball teams. He's a Rhodes Scholar, a former New Jersey Senator, and a best-selling author. Tonight, he will be presenting his latest book, The New American Story.
What I'm trying to do with New American Story is kind of give it back to the people. I'm not running for office. I don't have any personal ambition for political office at all. That's kind of in my past. But what I want to do is be the means by which people themselves see that they can control their own future.
The Hall of Fame 1994. I'm a big fan of yours from the Knicks days.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, very much so.
Were you about 3 years old then?
Hello, I made my first contribution in 1990 to your campaign, and I haven't stopped since.
My parents, Rose and Steve, introduced me to you a long time ago. I was about 8, and they brought me to a speech of yours, and you were one of my first influences into listening to politics and paying attention to world events, and I really appreciate everything you've done.
Remember what I said?
No, I was 8. I don't remember anything.
People who get together in 1,000 places talk about how you make health care for everybody a reality. That's a tremendous citizen activism. It's unpredictable what means they will use to achieve that end. There are a lot of possibilities. But the fact of the meeting itself will begin to change the dynamic. I felt that we were in the grip of what I call the old story, and that we were in the grip of it for a number of years, and it's repeated so often, and nobody really questioned it, and therefore it became kind of common wisdom out there. Well, I consider the old story to be essentially a can't-do story. We can't make Social Security solvent, we can't get off of oil, we can't provide health insurance for all Americans. It's a story of fear, of lack of compassion, of America-only policies abroad. It's a story that has unlimited belief in individual possibilities, but severely limited belief in collective possibilities. But you know the biggest lie perpetrated on the American public in the last several decades is this red-white or red-blue divide. I mean, you know, when you go to your kid's Little League baseball game, you look at the parent next to you and say, I wonder if they're red or blue. Why do you think, hey, that's the father or mother of the shortstop? I think that it has been terribly exaggerated. In 2004, there were 23 states where the losing party had more than 45%. And just to add a little more complexity, in red states, 62% of the people think there should be no discrimination against gays. In blue states, 70% of the people think there ought to be a death penalty. It gets a little more complex. But you know something? We have a lot more in common than anybody imagines. All Americans want a good life for their kids and their family. They want a country that they can be proud of, that lives up to the country's ideals. And they want a government that focuses on the things that are important to them. A good job, health care, education, and pensions. And my point is that the people who are in that latter category are not 50-50, red, blue. They're like 80% of the people. 20% of the people pull the parties in opposite directions and leave less room in the middle in order to do policies that will make life better for the vast majority of the American people.
Bradley, I want you to know that I'm a Republican, but you are the only Democrat that I would ever vote for.
Republican, but you'd be the only Democrat that I would vote for.
The way we draw congressional district lines, you have partisan state legislatures that draw the congressional lines, that sometimes they look like spaghetti, as opposed to kind of contiguous states. And why does that happen? That happens because the party in power in the state wants to maximize the number of congressional districts. And the result is that the Congress has 435 members, and there are 40 competitive districts. 40. I can tell you one thing. If you're like the other 395 congressmen and you're in a district that's 60-40, I don't even care what the other party says. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about a primary. If I'm in a 52-48 district, I got to listen to the other side. So what the process does is reward the most extreme. Someone is elected, they go to Congress, they have to be on the extremes, because if they're not, they might get the primary challenge. If they are in the extremes, they get the nomination, they're going to win the election. So what's the answer? Instead of state legislatures drawing these lines, have citizens commissions draw these lines and have them approved by a 3-judge federal panel. Very simple answer. My point of all this is, it is not rocket science. There are very specific things that we can do. This news story is about possibilities. This news story says you put country ahead of party. You tell people the truth about our circumstance because you trust the people, and by telling them the truth, you engender more trust. And once you've laid out what the problems are, you offer very specific solutions to those problems and take your chances with the electorate because you trust that they have real questions, and when you level with them, that you're going to get a response.
I could see our destiny is something held in common. The wellspring of our dignity, the vision